Pentagon Cyber Command is down. 3 days of total failure. America's nuclear launch codes are compromised. Every encryption protocol shattered. The Joint Chiefs have called in the NSA's best hackers, CIA's top analysts, even private military contractors from Silicon Valley. Nothing works. Foreign agents are rewriting launch sequences in real time. The crisis deepens as Russian submarines surface off the Atlantic coast. Then a security badge beeps in the basement corridor. Among the frantic analysts and exhausted generals, a beautiful Latina woman in a maintenance uniform pushes her cleaning cart past the crisis room. No rank, no clearance beyond janitorial access, just a worn ID badge and eyes that have seen these corridors for 6 years. The cyber warfare experts dismiss her completely as she empties trash bins and wipes down terminals. Until she pauses outside the main briefing room, listens to the error codes echoing through the open door, and quietly says, in accented English, "That's not a foreign hack. That's a ghost protocol activation." From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about hidden heroes and classified operations, consider subscribing for more untold tales from the shadows of power. The Pentagon's Cyber Operations Center buzzed with desperate energy. General Marcus Webb stood before wall-mounted displays showing America's compromised defense networks. His uniform wrinkled from 3 sleepless days. Around him, the nation's top cybersecurity minds worked frantically at their terminals. "Status report," Webb demanded. Colonel Sarah Martinez looked up from her workstation, dark circles under her eyes. "Sir, the intrusion is unlike anything we've seen. They're rewriting core authentication protocols using cryptographic signatures from decades ago that somehow still have administrative access." Webb moved to the central command station where screens displayed the breach scope, nuclear command authority, satellite communications, missile defense coordination, all showing red, compromised. "How is this possible?" Dr. Rebecca Chen approached with diagnostic data. "General, the attack vectors are targeting integration points that most current staff don't even know exist. Someone with intimate knowledge of original system architecture." As the crisis unfolded, the building's night maintenance crew continued their duties. Isabella Santos, 43, moved through secure areas with practiced efficiency. She emptied classified shredders, sanitized workstations, and cleaned around equipment whose purposes she was never supposed to understand. But Isabella had been doing this job for 6 years. Tonight, as she worked near the Cyber Command Center, the urgency in voices made her pause. The error codes and protocol names they discussed weren't foreign to her. She'd heard them before, spoken by a man who'd sworn her to secrecy about work that officially never existed. "We've tried everything," Martinez was saying as Isabella moved past the briefing room. "Legacy bypass protocols, quantum decryption overrides, even experimental neural network countermeasures. Nothing works." Isabella slowed her cart. Legacy bypass, quantum override. Those weren't just technical terms. They were specific protocol names her father had mentioned in stories about secret work, creating authentication systems so secure that even the military forgot how they worked. Pattern analysis shows the intrusion began with Ghost Protocol 943, Martinez continued, but that designation doesn't appear in any database. Isabella's breath caught. Ghost Protocol 1943. She knew that name from her father's careful handwriting, along with warnings about what would happen if it was ever activated without authorization. Moving closer, she could see cascading system failures across every major military network. The same pattern her father had described as the Omega scenario, the nightmare his protocols were designed to prevent. General Webb spoke into a secure phone. "Mr. President, we're looking at complete loss of nuclear command authority within 4 hours." Isabella realized she was probably the only person in the building who knew what was really happening and how to stop it. But revealing that knowledge meant breaking a promise to her dying father, to keep his secrets buried, to never speak of classified operations that shaped American military cryptography. Looking at screens showing America's compromised defenses, Isabella made the hardest decision of her life. She approached the briefing room entrance where a Marine corporal stood guard. "Ma'am, this is restricted," he said politely. "I need to speak with General Webb about the Ghost Protocol." The corporal's expression changed. That phrase wasn't supposed to be known by anyone without top-secret clearance. "Tell him Isabella Santos has information about Ghost Protocol 1943. Tell him my father was Diego Santos." Inside, Webb was mid-sentence when the corporal whispered in his ear. The general's face went pale as he looked toward Isabella. Diego Santos. A name in files so buried that most officials didn't know it existed. The man who'd built the cryptographic foundation every subsequent security system was built upon. Webb approached Isabella slowly. "Mrs. Santos, how do you know classified protocol designations?" "Because my father created them, General, and because he taught me what to do if they were ever activated without authorization." The room fell silent. Webb gestured Isabella inside. "Your father's work saved American lives for decades, but all records were classified beyond retrieval 40 years ago." "All official records," Isabella corrected, showing him a phone photo of handwritten manual pages. "But fathers tell daughters things that never make it into government files." The photograph showed complex diagrams and notes. At the top, Omega Protocol emergency procedures, for use only when all other options have failed. "Mrs. Santos, if this is authentic, you might be the only person who can save this country." Webb studied the phone, recognizing authentic military classifications. "Colonel Martinez, Dr. Chen, look at this." Martinez examined the screen. "General, these diagrams show integration pathways we thought were lost. This explains the deep access. They're using original backdoors." "Backdoors my father created as emergency overrides," Isabella confirmed. "He said any system powerful enough to protect America would eventually become powerful enough to destroy it. So he built safeguards." Webb's phone buzzed urgently. "Mrs. Santos, attacks are originating from Russia, China, and 3 other nations in coordination. This isn't espionage, it's preparation for something worse." "Then we don't have time for doubt. The Omega Protocol can stop this, but requires manual activation from the original control room. Sublevel 12, Vault Echo 7. That level's been sealed since the 1960s. I have access codes. More importantly, I have the biometric authentication my father programmed." Webb made his decision. "Colonel, assemble security. We're going to levels most people don't know exist." They descended through older Pentagon sections. Isabella explained her father's work. "After the war, Papa built foundation protocols for everything that came after. But he was terrified they could someday be turned against America. They reached sublevel 12, where a massive vault door stood sealed. Isabella pressed her palm against a blank wall section. Ancient machinery hummed, scanning biometrics against patterns programmed before her birth. The door opened, revealing early computer technology. Massive machines with blinking lights, tape drives, punch card readers. "Welcome to where American cyber warfare was born," Isabella said. Emergency lighting revealed workstations unused for 40 years, but somehow still connected to critical systems. "How is this possible?" Martinez whispered. "Papa said old systems never really went away. They got buried under newer ones, but connections remained dormant." Isabella moved to the central console, entering commands on a museum-piece keyboard. Screens flickered to life, showing network intrusions from a perspective revealing the attack's true scope. "They're not just compromising systems," Webb breathed. "They're triggering a launch sequence." "Automated nuclear response," Isabella confirmed, making it look like America fired first. Then every nuclear power would have justification to retaliate. The implications sank in. This was an attempt to trick America into starting World War III. How long until they succeed? Isabella's fingers flew across the ancient keyboard. 18 minutes. And the Omega Protocol? "Will stop everything. But General, every military system will be offline for 72 hours during reset." Webb looked at his team. 72 hours of complete vulnerability. 72 hours of peace, Isabella corrected. "No one can attack what doesn't exist. When systems return, they'll be clean, secure, protected by protocols no foreign power has seen." Martinez checked her watch. 17 minutes, General." Webb took a deep breath. "Mrs. Santos, are you certain this will work?" "I'm certain it's our only chance." "You're willing to bet your country's safety on your father's 40-year-old plan?" Isabella looked around the room where her father had built America's digital defenses. "General, he died believing someday his daughter might choose between following orders and saving lives. He made me promise to choose lives." Webb nodded. "Do it." Isabella began the final sequence, speaking quietly to her father's memory in Spanish, apologizing for breaking his secret, but thanking him for wisdom that would save millions. Screens displayed cascading shutdowns as Omega Protocol activated. Every compromised system went dark. Nuclear command offline. Satellites terminated. Missile defense shut down. For the first time in 3 days, displays showed no foreign intrusion, because nothing remained to intrude upon. "Pentagon Command, this is NORAD. We're showing total system shutdown. Confirm status." Webb picked up the microphone. "NORAD, shutdown is intentional. Emergency protocol activation. Stand by for restoration over 72 hours. "Copy. Should we assume DEFCON status?" "Negative. For the first time in 3 days, we're completely secure." As the last compromised systems went offline, Isabella slumped against the console, emotionally drained. Martinez approached. "Isabella, you potentially prevented nuclear war." "I did what my father taught me. Sometimes protecting something means being willing to let it go." 3 days later, as systems began restoration, Isabella returned to her normal job. But now, when officers passed her in hallways, they nodded with respect. Some stopped to thank her. A week after the crisis, General Webb found Isabella cleaning the Cyber Command Center, now displaying green status lights. "Mrs. Santos, would you consider consulting on legacy security protocols? Your knowledge could prevent this from happening again. Isabella paused. General, my father spent his life protecting secrets. I think it's time some secrets started protecting others. A month later, a memorial appeared in the Pentagon's Hall of Heroes. Diego Santos, Sergeant Major, U.S. Army Cryptographic Corps, 1943 to 1987. Architect of American cyber defense. Remembered by his daughter, Isabella Santos, guardian of the legacy. Isabella continued her night shift, but now also taught Pentagon cryptographers about foundational systems. In Sublevel 12, ancient machines hummed quietly, waiting for the next time someone would need to choose between protocol and saving the world. Sometimes the fate of nations rests not on generals or presidents, but on someone who remembers that duty is not to the system, but to the people the system serves. This story was brought to you by Quiet Tales Studio. Have you ever known someone whose hidden knowledge protected others? Share their story in the comments below, because every ordinary person carries extraordinary potential to serve. Subscribe to join our community of believers in silent service. We'll see you in the next tale.